Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please come forward, inshallah. Let's try to fill up all the gaps. Jazakullahu Khairan. And this program is being live streamed as well today. So if you know anyone who would be interested, inshallah, in benefiting from this topic, please send them the link. It's on the Masjid Darus Salam YouTube channel, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انك انت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا ما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا اللهم نور قلوبنا بعلمك واستعمل ابداننا لطاعتك ووفقنا لما تحب وترضى من القول والعمل والفعل والنية والهدى انك على كل شيء قدير يا وهاب يا وهاب يا وهاب يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح يا جبار يا جبار يا جبار أما بعد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى والله خلقكم وما تعملون صدق الله العظيم. Respected friends, dear brothers and elders, dear listeners, mothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I am excited today to have Brother Rafi Bashir with me, alhamdulillah, so who will be inshallah co-hosting tonight's candlelight conversation. This is, let me say this from the very get-go. We had this last Ramadan, we had this Ramadan. It was late at night, alhamdulillah, and it was a very successful program in terms of attendance and the excitement of the attendees on the different topics that we spoke about candidly. So we're not going to obviously start it at 1 a.m., right? So it's not Ramadan here, so we have it between Maghrib and Isha. We have this session and possibly one more session in May, and then we'll be taking a summer break. Inshallah, and we'll reconvene somewhere towards the end of July. So we'll just be having 2 sessions, inshallah, in May, and then the month of June, and halfway through July, until madrasa restarts up again, summer break ends, inshallah, then we will reconvene for that. Today, as you know, with the retreat right around the corner, alhamdulillah, we thought, let's have the first candlelight conversation after Ramadan on the topic of the AI revolution, what it means for all of us. So, alhamdulillah, you know, many of us have been hearing the announcements, have been seeing the flyers, but still, there is, for those who are not actually in the industry, those who are not working in the field of artificial intelligence, are wondering, why are we talking about this? What in the world is this, you know, I don't know how to translate. Masnui zahanat, kya kahenge? What is that? I don't even know what's the, you know, equivalent. Huh? Yes, yeah, that's there. So people are wondering, you know, why are we discussing that? People who are not in the field. And then those who are in the field, they say, again, why are we discussing? All day I do this at work. What does Islam have to offer? So this is a very serious problem. Of course, this is the fact, if you're in the trenches and you don't realize why Islam is needed, that's a big problem. And if you're not in the trenches, working in it, you are definitely what was the word you used? The one who, you know, what was the word? I forgot. But anyway, someone who's, you're going to be, as a customer, or someone who's not a customer, but rather someone who is a user of it 24/7, we are surrounded by this artificial intelligence, and it's only getting more powerful. So this is why today's topic is really important for us to hear and understand, inshallah, what's this all about. So let me quickly give an introduction to our co-host here. MashaAllah, he has a degree from University of Illinois at Chicago in finance, a master's candidate in Georgia Institute of Technology and Analytics. He was one of the first Khuddam, Ansar, as well as students of Darul Hikmah back in the day. And then, mashallah, he's continued on to complete the Darul Qasim's Shaykh al-Hind program and many other kitabs with Mawlana Asif al-Din. That's his academic background, education. Experience, 12 plus years of industry experience within the retail sector, focusing on analytics, strategy, and insights at Sears Holdings, Walgreens, CVS Health. Currently a senior manager of promotion analytics and strategy at CVS Health, and an active volunteer leader for over 16 plus years across many organizations, MSAs, masjids, etc. Alhamdulillah. So we're really excited to have Brother Rafi with us here today, inshallah, and we can get right into it, tonight's program.
Jazakullahu Khairan. With the Azimuddin for that. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, amma ba'd. First and foremost, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to everyone. I'm really excited and glad that all of you make time this Wednesday night to join us. As Mufti Azim mentioned, the purpose of today is really a muqaddama, or a kind of a prelude to the retreat that we have upon us this weekend. And one of the first things I wanted to address to you all is exactly the question that Mufti Azim sort of proposed in the beginning of what is AI? Why are we even talking about this? Why is this relevant? How does this impact me as a normal person in the world? So really to answer that question, I think first is we need to define it, right? At a very basic level, what is artificial intelligence? So many different experts in the field really categorize artificial intelligence into these three buckets. And there's different formulations of this idea, but fundamentally artificial intelligence is this idea of being an overarching understanding of when human beings develop technology that can mimic human intelligence, a computer that can mimic human intelligence. So fundamentally that is the overarching base understanding of this term artificial intelligence. And from there there's subcategories. So artificial intelligence being that broad category, machine learning is a very specific subset of artificial intelligence, which very simply put, you have these words up on the screen. They're a little verbose, but I'll summarize them for you. Fundamentally, our machine learning is when you pass data to an algorithm, a mathematical and statistical based algorithm, and that algorithm learns from that data and makes recommendations and outcomes and predictions. So, for example, you interact with this every day, knowingly or unknowingly. For example, when you go on Amazon, when you go on any website, you get recommendations. You start browsing on things, you click on things, and the website interacts with you. It tells you, oh, person X, you bought this product, let me recommend these 4 things to you. That is a machine learning algorithm at work. When you use your phone and you have the CAPTCHA kind of authentication that happens when it shows images and you have to click on those boxes. That's an AI, that's a machine learning algorithm at work. When you think about when you go to Amazon Go and you magically walk through the store and you pick up things and you walk out and you and automatically check out of the store, that's machine learning in action. So I can go on and on and on. There's so many examples where we may knowingly or unknowingly are interacting with this technology. And one level further than that is this idea of deep learning. And this is a concept where you have basically this generative AI, large language models, this chat GPT, this term that you may have heard of, right? This is where the subset of AI, of this idea of deep learning comes into play. And deep learning really, what it's at a fundamental level it's doing is it's replicating the human neurons, the interactions of the human mind and how the neurons function in the human mind. It's replicating that in a machine form, basically. So you can imagine it's mimicking the way that the human mind operates, and it's doing it in a machine or artificial format. So it has immense power, and it's powered by like loads and loads of data. So at a very base level, the reason why all of this works is because of the vast amounts of data that's being generated. So for example, the way I like to coin it, with these themes, that we live in an age where we have a lot of information, but we don't have a lot of knowledge. And the distinction between that is, just simply put, you can see the slide here, it's just kind of illustrating the vast amounts of data that we are collecting on a day-to-day basis. Everything from what we produce from our phone, what we generate through the internet, all of this is being collected. All the photos that we're taking, all this data is just being housed. And because of the advent of these powerful databases that were not possible and not existent 10 to 15 years ago, and the ability to process all that data, we now have a sort of perfect microcosm of a large amount of data that's been gathered, the ability to store it, to read it, process it, and pass it through these mathematical models that were not actually that old. They're about 50 to 60 years old. They were developed in the 1950s, and there's been iterations of that further and further. And because of this phenomenon, now having the amount of data, having the ability to store it, having the ability to process it, we now have this AI revolution that is upon us. And this is just another really quick example of what I'm talking about. So this is kind of just a time series graph that's showing the amount of data that we've been able to increase over the last about 10 years or so, right? Or 15 years in this case. So estimated that about 90% of all the digital data in the world has been created since 2016. Can you imagine that? Since 2016, 90% of the data that we have has been produced from that time, right? So this is a recent phenomenon. So that's why we felt as a masjid, as a community here, that we needed to talk about this. And these are just some examples of some of the things I mentioned of applications of AI in social media, in marketing, in video graphics, in image recognition, all these different kind of use cases that I mentioned before. So that is kind of the backdrop of why this is important and why does it impact us. Now, as mashallah Mufti Azim mentioned, Islam is not a religion that works in a silo. We see the world through this prophetic lens of the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and we have an opinion on every aspect because Islam is a complete way of life. That's our belief and that's our understanding. So naturally, Islam would have a opinion on this science or this industry of artificial intelligence. So I guess to start off with the first question that I had for you is that as an imam, as an individual who interacts with people, youth, people who are working in corporate America or various different professions, what are some of the biggest concerns that you have of the impact of AI on the global Muslim ummah, as well as perhaps the local ummah here in the Chicagoland area and the United States at large?
Jazakullahu Khairan. So what you just shared, some of these amazing slides here with the information that you shared, is something for us to absorb and see. So many different things you've shared. Number one, the fact that what is the definition of these artificial intelligence that you explained to us, and the fact that you've highlighted that we're surrounded by it, and that all of us are being studied, analyzed, not just by humans, but by machines, and all of that is being recorded and not being forgotten, and an entire analysis of each one of us is being created. I was amazed with Rafi last week. We were traveling together, and I asked him, what does data analysis at CBS look like? So the interesting thing, he was talking about how he's going through trillions of lines of data that the computers are analyzing, and watching how everyone purchases what they purchase, looking for trends, and based on that, sending coupons to individuals based on their purchasing a history. But what was also very unique about that fact was how he said there were certain, I like the word, he said coupon abusers who see a trend that they use coupons a lot at the stores and they save a lot of money. So those type of people, they also track, and within the realm of law, I guess so, suppress the amount of coupons that those people receive, right? That was very intriguing. That you just think it's just a coupon, but subhanAllah, everything is being studied. So now, when you are being studied this closely, all your habits, and that information is being stored, do we realize that that data is not being thrown into the garbage? There's a reason why there's data breaches every day. Why it's a multi-billion trillion dollar market, buying and selling of data in the black market. Why is there this huge cybersecurity thing to protect data? Because once you have data upon someone, you can really manipulate them in any way you want. You can give them, you know exactly what their triggers are. You know where their weak points are. That's what Iblis does. Iblis knows us. Iblis, it comes in hadith, when he saw Adam alayhi salatu wasalam being created, at that time, Shaitan, Iblis started walking around the mold of Hazrat Adam. And he looked at it and he started, look at the khabasa, the evil of Iblis, right then and there. He started looking at the breachable points, is that what you call it? places where you can, security breaches where it can happen, right? The weakest links. He started looking at it. Allah created all of us. We all have weakness within ourselves. Iblis was there to look at that. And Adam alayhi salam is not even, final form is not out yet. He's still in the form of clay. And Iblis is looking, and he started manipulating and thinking and is plotting how I'm going to take this guy down. Because he saw a weakness. All right? So that's an example of data. When you have data, when you look at someone, you know what their weak points are. I think our community doesn't, well, not just us, no one realizes to the extent that we're being analyzed, we're being watched. And now all that information is being recorded. And that record is there because there is an agenda. Most of us think that I've got nothing to hide, right? Brother, I'm not a terrorist, I got nothing to hide. MashaAllah is good, neither am I. Okay? But the thing is, data, the fact that there's so much data mining happening, it's there for a purpose, because the maqsad and the goal is to actually control your future, control the way you think, control the way you act, make you start desiring certain things, make you start not desiring certain things, turn you away. That's our biggest fitna right now. The biggest fitna I fear for our community is where we are constantly breathing in this new era, of artificial intelligence, without realizing how much power we are giving to someone else. Whenever we use this technology, we're always handing ourselves over to someone else to study us. And then that will come right back to bite us. You can't really run away from this world, right? You have to live in this world. But at least if a person recognizes and realizes what's happening and how we need to be careful, you might not be able to stop. You have to travel, you have to go to work, you have to use your phone. Okay, fine. But at least understand that next time you're being prompted to think in a certain manner, to listen to a certain piece of news, to think in a certain manner, use your internal imani knowledge and your ruhaniyat to think outside the box and not think in the manner where people want you to think. You see what's happening to the Uyghurs in China, the zulm and oppression, kind of, we've forgotten about them, right? But subhanAllah, nothing has stopped. They're still in the concentration camps. They're being force-fed, all sorts of stuff. But that is very clear brainwashing that's intentionally being done, right? Read about it. We are also in a large concentration camp. The difference is we don't realize we're in a concentration camp. We're also being forced to think in a certain manner and to act that will lead to thinking in a certain manner. So when you talk about ethics, morals, values, how they start changing within our community, what was acceptable, never acceptable 10 years ago, is completely acceptable today. Morality, the definition of morality is changing. The relationship between parents and children, husbands and wives, kids and their dads and moms, and between children and their imams, all these things are changing. And so this is where my fear comes in, is that when do we lose completely control over our Islamic identity, our ethics, morals, and we become just a robot, thinking in a manner that others want us to think? If you think that's not going to happen, that's foolishness. This entire trillions and trillions of dollars of work that's being done, it's not in vain. There's a very clear-cut agenda. And this is not a conspiracy theory here. This is no conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no, subhanAllah. So I think Mufti Azim mentioned so many different nuggets, and we could go down different rabbit holes right now. And I wanted to kind of focus on one particular rabbit hole, which I think is very important. So this device right here, right, was invented. I remember when I basically was a junior in college. I received my first smartphone. I'm 33 years old, so I'm dating myself a bit, and I still consider myself to be a relatively young person. But to some people, I'm beyond bhai. I'm Uncle Rafi right now. So in 2011, I was a junior in college in undergraduate studies, and I received my first smartphone. But there's a vast majority of individuals that are part of our community that were born what they call Gen Z, which they were born from 1997 to 2012 roughly, who lived in an age where I remember a time before smartphones where I would have to use a like a Motorola Razr for some of you that may remember that phone. It's really popular in the 2000s, where there was no internet, there's no smart quote unquote capabilities, and we didn't have all these applications, all these different devices that pieces of software that are running on this machine, right? So there's a whole generation of individuals that have grown up with this device, right? And their interaction and their ability and their addiction to it is at a level that is even beyond like even my generation and Mufti Azim's generation and beyond, right? So if you really think about what this device is, it basically, in a nutshell, is concentrated dunya. I want you to think about that for a second. What do I mean by that, concentrated dunya? What I mean is that imagine all the vices and all the temptations and all the ideas and all the concepts of the world all concentrated into a device that's in the palm of your hand, that you can turn on whenever you want, that gives you notifications, that allows you to interact with it pretty much at a unrestricted amount, right? And technology companies in Silicon Valley very quickly realized that they can use this piece of technology and build something that can revolutionize the world. And that's what they did, right? So the advent of the social media platform. So I wanted to highlight social media and really get into some of the main pitfalls, right? So there's a really interesting documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. I don't know if some of you may have heard of it, perhaps not, but it's actually fascinating, and it talks a lot about the things that Mufti Azim mentioned. So for example, this documentary is made by insiders from Silicon Valley. So these are co-founders at Facebook, co-founders at Pinterest, which is an app that allows you to create like weird boards for your remodeling of your house, all sorts of different random ideas that you have. It's a creative platform basically for you to express your creative ideas. Instagram, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. So all of these insiders from these companies, they came and they realized that they created sort of a Frankenstein like device or platform or piece of software that has certain properties that are mind-boggling in terms of its ability to manipulate psychology, to program individuals, and to really harness them for monetary gain. So what they did is they developed this piece of software that this is a quote from the documentary that I wanted Mufti Azim for you to comment on after I mention it. But this is a really fascinating idea. So this idea that if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. So what does that mean? That means that these social media platforms, which leverage all of the artificial intelligence, all the machine learning models that I mentioned right earlier in the discussion, they leverage all of that to not just harness your data. Data is one thing, selling your data is one thing, but what they're really trying to do is they're capturing your attention. They're capturing your attention, they're holding you captive, and they're selling your attention to willing actors and marketing companies that are showing you information at an unprecedented amount. And the amount of programming and manipulation they can do is insane if you think about it. So, for example, in the documentary, they mentioned, I don't know if you've all heard of this name, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Mark Zuckerberg is the founder of Facebook, which at one point was one of the most valuable companies in the world. And what Mark Zuckerberg had at his disposal, and he still does, is if there's a moment where the revenue of Facebook is going down, he has a dial that he can turn to basically increase monetization by tweaking the algorithms that are running to monetize what you're like looking at, basically. So he has that type of precision to basically impact your to influence your captivity, I guess, on the app, right? So if you think about that, I don't know about you, but that's terrifying. That someone has that type of control. And the irony is that we have this assumption that these corporations work in the best interest of humanity, and I will tell you unequivocally that that is not the case. They, by its definition, a corporation is designed to maximize profit. That is their their right to their shareholder to maximize profit. And now, what moral framework do they use? Allahu alam. There is really no moral framework that they have to abide by. They just have to abide by legal jurisdiction of the United States and federal and international law at the end of the day. So I just wanted to pause there, Mufti Sahib. I guess with that being said, based on your interactions with individuals, right, children, youth, etc., who come to you, what type of psychological and social impacts and problems have you seen and kind of interacted with individuals who have this addiction to social media? And I just narrated this whole idea of how these platforms are running and how they're functioning, but can you give some practical examples of individuals who have this type of addiction? What type of behaviors do they display, and what how have you combated this or addressed it as an imam in the community?
Right. So I think as a father and then as a person working with the youth and the community, all of us are concerned about environmental effects on our children. So when you see your child doing something out of line, you say, "Bhai, who are you hanging out with?" First thing, right? So this is how it's been for the past thousands of years. Al-mar'u ala dini khalili falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. A person follows the religion of his friend. Be careful who you befriend. All right, birds of the same feather flock together. Right, that's the key thing. That al-jinsu yamirul jins. Be careful who you hang out with. At-tiba'u yasriqu ba'duha min ba'd. Nature, they steal from one another. Right, nature steals from one another. So usually when it comes to trying to ensure that our young generation and ourselves, for that matter, are turning into, inshallah, good people, we usually just look at the people they hang out with. And that worked for all these years. He's sitting in the wrong company. Come on, change it. Get some new people. What the phone has done is just taken that whole thing out. It's not in our hands now.
Exactly.
You're sitting I sent you for Umrah. You sit for a Umrah group for 2 weeks. Last 10 days, Ramadan, i'tikaf in the Haram Sharif. How you come back messed up? More messed up than you were when you went. It's because while he's sitting in the Haram, in Umrah, in i'tikaf, in the Haram, he's on his phone. And while you're on the phone, in the mataf, you can be reading whatever you want. I have seen security guards watching all kinds of inappropriate things. And you can hear it while doing Umrah, right? Because they're sitting there all day. Right? And you just hear random music, movies, shows, all sorts of stuff. It's just, that's how life is. So you're sitting in the mataf and you still can't get spirituality. Yeah. That's what the dilemma is right now. I think so, is you thought you took him away from his old friends and you sent him for jamaat. You sent him for itikaf. You sent him for haram. That usually used to work before. But because we have our cell phones and social media and AI everywhere, you can't get rid of this shaitan that's with you the entire time, wherever you go. There was a time in the Haram, at least many of us say, "Chalo bhai, I'm done with the smartphone. I'm going to lock it up I'm not going to take it for me. I'm going to take a dumb phone," right? Many of us used to take for the Haram.
Yeah.
Dumb phones. And then we used to keep one inside the locker in the hotel. Now you can't even enter the Haram without having your phone with you, yeah? Even my kids, when we had to get smartphones, can you imagine? Every single child had to have a smartphone to be able to get the Nusuk app, to be able to get the Riyadh al-Jannah slot. So even those who never had it, now you're forced to get it. And you say, I waste my time in the Haram. I'm going to, inshallah, just read Mus'haf. We know that. We all waste our time when we have our phone in the pocket. So let's leave it in the Haram. Let's leave it at home, in the hotel before we go. But no, if you want to enter, you have to have it. You want to do it for Umrah, you have to have it. You want to do it for Tawaf, you have to have it. It's weird how the system of the world has made it such that now driver license also you can have digital, right? Driver license, of course, credit cards, most of us are not putting it. Every single thing is being put on the phone. One-stop shop. But we don't realize that the one-stop shop, as convenient as it is, honestly, but it opens up a can of black snakes. Because that one-stop shop doesn't allow you to separate yourself from the filth. Because if you just took your wallet, right? Yes, you have to carry a big wallet. And you have to carry your keys and you have to carry all these things. Yes, it's a little heavy. But alhamdulillah, you don't have an option to do so many thousands of bad things. But now you put it all together. This is your gateway for your downloaded Quran, your tafsir. You got all that stuff on there. One window tafsir, one window something else. One window, talking to your mom and dad on video chat, one window something else. This is what this happened. It's the khair and the shar of the world put together. So now it's like it's like you're taking your phone with a good intention, But then within less than a second, you just switch the screen and you lost it all. So this is something unprecedented. Like we never dealt with this before. The fact that you cannot control the influence. Before, you just separate from bad influences and a guy would change. You can't separate them from this. I think this is the key thing that I'm seeing. Now, which is leading to, what does it lead to? It leads to everything. It leads to psychological problems. You have a huge rate of people depressed, people on antidepressants, people feeling suicidal. The average normal guy today, a good person, I mean, I've shared this before for those of you new people who haven't heard me speaking about this. I mean, when we grew up, we never saw suicide. We never heard of suicide. We never heard about it. But now, it's such a common issue. People, young, adolescent, middle-age, I mean not young middle-age, middle school boys and girls trying to attempt to take their life. I had, in here in the class, I asked students last year and this year, how many of you know someone or seen someone or heard about someone in your immediate connections who took their life? 1/3 of the class, right? More than 1/3 of the class of madrasa students, right? Say that they know someone, like this unheard of. What's going on? So one big reason of that is that social media, the cyberbullying that happens on social media. Just 2 days ago, one student of mine told me that. He said, please make dua. My brother is mentally a little bit slow. And he's got, may Allah make it easy for him. It's tough. But how he is now suffering from cyberbullying. And now they're scared for him. What's going to happen? Because it's making him really resentful. He's trying to make friends, but the people are not only bullying him in school, but then they bully him online as well, right? This is a real issue. So parents don't realize what's going on, but their kids are suffering in this manner. Then you have the addiction to watching haram and this and that. That just completely destroys the mind. And people feel they suffer from self-hate, right? They hate themselves because of these sins. And it leads them to which is a very big problem, that I'm disgusted with my identity. I don't like who I am. I'm sitting in this bayan, but I'm an evil person. So shaitan, first of all, pushes you with your nafs to get into sin. And after you get into the sin, what does he do? He makes you hate yourself, subhanAllah. Instead of saying, I'm a sinful servant of Allah, Ya Allah, you get me out of this mess. I'm not happy to be here. I make tawbah and istighfar. I'm going to get myself out of it. Shaitan will lead you to, instead of hating your nafs and shaitan, what does he do? Hate yourself. And then after that, you say, forget it. There's no point. There's no doors of tawbah for me anyway, which is false. And then makes the person go into even greater sins. We have, you're talking about what other new issues of AI? We have a big problem, AI, boyfriend, girlfriend. And if you never heard about it, for God's sake, please don't go search this stuff. But I promise you, when I came across it, and I lost my sleep, man. I had tears in my eyes. I was like, how is my ummah? How are we going to face? How are we going to handle this? How are we going to handle it? Today, it's so hard for young men and women to encourage them to get married. We talked about that before. People don't want to get married. Those who are trying to get married, they're finding a very hard time to find an appropriate spouse. Now, you have this thing. You can, like all the old people say, Yaar, I'm making sabr with my hair for so long. The lady says, I'm making sabr with him for so long. Now you have a new AI a girlfriend, boyfriend, that you don't need to make sabr with. You literally just type in the buttons, however you want. However you want. You can choose personality. You can choose their background. You can choose their level of education. You can choose their level of expertise in what subject to what degree. Okay? Should they be a major in philosophy? Then they'll be equipped with that. Should they be a major in geology? Should they be a major in Islamic studies? They'll be equipped. That's how they. Okay. Should they be quiet? Should they be outgoing? Should they be behaya, bahaya? You can choose that too. Should they be, should they have modesty, less, more inhibition, or no inhibition at all? Astaghfirullah. You talk about personalities. You talk about mizaj, temperament. Should they be short-tempered, quick-tempered, the soft, docile? You choose all that. Strong personality, because you're a weak person. You want a partner that's strong. Okay, you choose that. And then almost like you have the color graph, unlimited amount of different colors that you can choose. The different types of colors you can choose on the color pie. Similarly, now you can choose physical features from head to toe, whatever you want. This is available now for $10 a month or whatever amount. Okay, what is going to happen in the next year or 10 years? You're going to see people naturally saying, forget it. I have all my needs fulfilled with this person. Why do I need to get married? Why do I need to have someone else in my life? When I'll chit-chat, my wife every time says, oh, you didn't bring this, she's getting mad at me for this and that. Husband comes home, she's getting mad. Forget this, I don't need you. I have now AI boyfriend, AI girlfriend that will provide real life chat, video chats, because they look like a real person. And you have a video call with someone who is exactly the way you ask them to be. And if you don't like anything, just go in the settings and change it. This is present.
SubhanAllah.
Okay, so now what are the ramifications of this? Right? Honestly, like we thought it was bad issues looking at bad sites. Now you imagine how many thousands of Muslims have already probably fallen into this trap. Right? And then the mama and baba are saying, chalo beta, chalo, let's find a girl for you. Nene, I'm okay. Well, obviously, he's like this. My mom and dad can never find a girl like this or a boy like that. This is the fitna that is already present. That's over here. How many dads and moms never even heard of what I'm talking about? Right? But that's present. So this is where we're talking about unprecedented, uncharted waters. All goes back to technology that the Quran talks about يَسَأَلُونَ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They ask you about liquor and wine and alcohol, as well as gambling. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. There's a lot of sin in it. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. And there's benefit. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. The sin and the harm of these things is greater than the benefit. Technology has lots of benefit. But the way vast majority of people are using it and how it's being used, unfortunately, more than likely, this is more harmful. If you look at the search of adult websites and haram sites, go online if you're to see, Google did a search. I read a Google Analytics on this. From the top 10 countries that are highest search for haram, unfortunately like 7 or 8 of them are Muslim countries. And this is from 2014. That was a long time ago. They said Ramadan 1st of 2014. What happened? Search for all of this dropped by 50%. That's 10 years ago. Right? 50% drop on the first day of Ramadan. What does that tell you is that how it's infiltrated. That people are using it, unfortunately, more than likely for haram. Yes, they use 10% halal, 90%. So when I tell my students here, I say, if you're here to study, keep your smartphones in the office. Pull it out whenever you need to. I said, how often do you actually talk to your mom and dad? The number one maqsad of a young man's phone should be to talk to his parents. Or young women who's away from home. Number one, talk to your parents. How often are we using it for? They're the ones who are paying for the bill. We're not even using it 1% of the time. 99% of the time is being used for something else. So what the social issue with social media, issue with cell phone, issue all that was already present. Artificial intelligence is just now adding a whole extra layer of lethal power to it, as well as deception for people not realizing what they're getting into.
So I want to read something to you, with these. I think this is very pertinent. So this is some quotes that I got from the Social Dilemma documentary. So just to literally piggyback off what you just said. So verbatim, this is like a quote from the documentary. If something is a tool, it genuinely is just sitting there waiting patiently. If something is not a tool, it's demanding things from you. It's seducing you. It's manipulating you. It wants things from you. And we've moved away from having a tools-based technology environment to an addiction and manipulation-based tech environment. Social media isn't a tool that's just waiting to be used. It has its own goals. It has its own means of pursuing them by using your psychology against you.
Wow. Where is that from?
This is from the Social Dilemma documentary.
Okay. Can you brothers please move forward? Let's not keep these empty spots. Jazakumullahu Khairan. May Allah reward you. This huge empty slot here, let's move that. Stand up and come close together. Barakallahu feekum. Anyone in the back also? Kindly, those who are in the lobby, come forward.
So there's also a very interesting, another quote that I wanted to kind of go through this, and then I want to...
Why don't you give some reflections on what you just read?
Yeah. So I think that really just kind of tells you that there's a very clear distinction between a tool, for example, like a bicycle that it sits in your garage, and when you need it, you jump on it, you ride, you get from point A to point B. A car probably is about the same equivalence. But social media, just exactly what Mufti Azim was mentioning, it has benefit, no doubt. But that 10%, 15% benefit does not outweigh the vast majority of dangers that it provides. That it literally, as these tech industry experts who built these tools are warning us about this. They're saying that, we built this sort of Pandora's box and we unleashed it like the nuclear bomb or the atom bomb onto the world. And we've built something that has this extreme addictive and extreme manipulative, sort of quality product that has these qualities, these attributes, that unfortunately to the untrained or the sort of enlightened mind has immense sort of negative ramifications. And we're seeing the effects of this on a day-to-day basis.
SubhanAllah. And so this is, I think, if you, the power of the simple, I could say, the litmus test on addiction is if today's youngster, if you talk about a whole 1 hour on social media, and just ask people, I mean, it's actually blasphemous if you simply suggest that people should delete their social media. You know what I mean? It's like a major sin, kabira. Like, how dare you say that? Do tajdeed of your kalima. What did you just say? People, like, they just look at me like, are you crazy? What are you talking about? And then immediately they say, brother, they start talking about all the da'wah that happens, right? All the da'wah. Hey, brother, you are a 21-year-old. Before you do da'wah, you need to first learn the deen. And the deen, you need to stop. See, I listen to so many amazing, beneficial lectures online. This is where AI is going to come in too. Stop using social media and online resources for seeking ilm. AI is harm, right? One of the things is of course deepfakes.
Yeah.
So yes, this past weekend, one student of mine shared with me an Andrew Tate video. Any of you seen that? You've seen many videos of Andrew Tate. Was on. But this Andrew Tate video, hilarious. I wish I could play it over here. Subhanallah, was in Andrew Tate's voice in Arabic. You could never tell, right?
MashaAllah.
And it's like, where did he, mashallah, just graduate from the Arabic intensive? Right?
From Darul Sakriya, mashallah.
So how do you do that, right? This AI. The point, then we have Sheikh Sha'arawi, whose tafsir I use on Tuesday nights from Egypt, rahimahullah. I have a video of his through AI and deepfake. What is it? He's giving a whole tafsir with his voice, with his style, in what language? In English. With his voice, but it's in English, Sheikh Sha'arawi. So now, if you have already the ability to do that, what's left? Microsoft has a product out there available. You take one still face, one still shot of a person. That's all you need. One still shot. And you can put it and throw into a computer, a program, and you can have any type of facial expression. Sadness, anger, frustration, happiness, all you need. Of course, you can move the lips of that. Now you have your AI-generated bayan that you make it give, or you write it yourself if you are a good writer. Say, this is from now on, based on the fact that marijuana has been changed in this past week, right? The legislation, they're saying Biden administration that marijuana should be made as easily accessible as Tylenol. This is exactly the example that was given. Tylenol, how it's in every home, that's how marijuana, subhanAllah. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
So now you have a scholar whose still picture was taken, a whole bayan referenced is given, and his one voice, take one snippet, now you have thousands of hours of bayan online. So you have more than enough thing to work with. And in his voice, with his mannerisms, with his face, you have a full talk about how the fiqh council of XYZ place or the Darul Ifta of such and such place had a meeting this past week, and based on new regulations and new knowledge that come to sight, we have decided to issue a fatwa that from now on, marijuana should be completely legal and halal, and should be taken, with your tea daily or whatever it may be. So now the fatwa is issued in person, and now you play around with the algorithms and you have it on Instagram and all these social media things. You post it up, you get the right people to tag it, right? You got the guys who are running the industry, tag it. Within hours, you've got 10 million views. By the time I wake up, you wake up, astaghfirullah, I hope it's not my face or your face. What can you do? If someone's sub-scholar, someone says, Sheikh, you gave fatwa? What are you talking about? He said, Wallah, I didn't. He said, look, there's 10 million views already in the less than 18 hours or 20 hours of you giving fatwa of jawaz, of permissivity. How are you going to go convince the people? No one will believe you. The most is the people immediately who spend time with you at your home, in your masjid. They're like, Sheikh, nah, this can't be. We know you in and out. But the rest of the world will not believe you. You can't. Even if you try to make a refutation of it, your refutation is not going to get tagged. Your refutation is not going to get pushed up to that level. Get it? No one's going to believe in it. If Biden, do you know in the primaries in the East Coast in one of the states, they had a Biden robocall telling people not to go out to vote. Right? Fake. Calling everyone. That's happening in this election. They're saying there's going to be a lot of that stuff happening in this presidential election. So I think this is a very important take-home point. The era of blindly listening to snippets and shorts online, we need to phase ourselves out of that. We have to, because you do not know who you're listening to. You think this is your favorite sheikh, you think is your favorite scholar, and this has to be, looks like him. But we are definitely entering an era where there is a very clear interest in what scholars say. Clearly overseas, in the Muslim-led countries, someone told me a long time ago, the true ulama are either in jail or they're 6 foot under. Inshallah, they're alwah in Jannah. That's it. Everyone else is being controlled. Well, now, you know, who cares about controlling what the scholar says by writing out? That's what it is, right? Everyone gets a written out khutbah. They have to say that. Forget that. You don't even need to even bother coming for Jummah. We are going to do an AI-generated deepfake, and we're going to say Sheikh so-and-so said that. What are you going to do? Who are you going to stand up against? When 15 million people, 20 million people have heard of fatwa about something being permissible. That's the future, my dear brothers and sisters, where we need to understand that the dependency on social media and online resources for seeking ilm, we have to get off of it. We have to focus on in-person ilm. We have to focus on in-person learning, where you can touch someone and say, brother, this is not AI, you know, this is real stuff.
SubhanAllah. No, I think, so I know we're up against time and we're about to, so I believe Isha Salah is at 9:45, I believe, today, right? Yes. So there's two last things I wanted to mention and kind of ask you, you know, Mufti Azim. So one kind of directly connects to the point that you just made. So something that I was thinking a lot about, and there's this quote by Arthur C. Clarke, who basically is a fiction author, a British fiction author, and he has this quote. He says that it's actually fascinating. It says, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic."
Say that again.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Now, why is it?
Because magic, right? What is the aspect? It's magical. Magical means because you don't understand how it works. That's what a magic trick is. Otherwise, it no longer remains a magic trick. Exactly. If you know how he did it. Yeah.
So the reason why I'm mentioning this with you, and I want you to kind of cover this, is that, so when I heard this quote, I was thinking directly about Masih ad-Dajjal. And the era of when he comes and the preparation of his time, what will be the sort of sama at that time, right? So I remember we've had this discussion in the past a bit, that your kind of opinion perhaps, and this is kind of what I've adopted as well, is that his coming will be an era where there will be a union of advanced technology and advanced sihr combined. And if you can imagine like what that would potentially look like, right? So for example, there's this concept that you sent me this link of an NPR kind of snippet of this idea called the omniverse, where basically it's a piece of technology that is being developed by NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is one of the leaders of developing GPUs, which are basically without getting too nerdy and technical here, a GPU basically is an alternative to a CPU. And what it does is it processes graphics, processes data. And what the Omniverse is this sort of virtual reality world that you can speak something and it will come into existence. Just think about that for a second. You can speak something and it will come into existence. Can you imagine that? So my mind immediately when I saw that, it went to Dajjal. It went to an era where there is this amalgamation of basically advanced technology with the connection of advanced sihr. So can you comment on that, Mufti Azim? Like, what do you think about that? And do you feel, is that a reality that perhaps could be possible? Or how should we kind of like,
you know, when I just heard your statement, he just shared the statement with me earlier during the day in a voice message. And my response to you was, I can't believe this. Like, this is stuff that I've been speaking about for years. It was my gut feeling without having ever heard of Omniverse or artificial intelligence or any of these things, that Dajjal will be a synthesis of sihr and technology. And subhanAllah, this is exactly where we're headed. This is where the power of Islam comes in. This is where we should fall down in sajda and cry, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Islam. That we have something that gives us hidayah and guidance when no one else has this. No one's got scripture. No one has got hadith. No one has got anything even slightly similar to this to say, listen, hold on, we already told you this. No one's got that. They're completely hayran, completely shocked. Only Islam is there that will give us, this should increase our yaqeen in Islam. That subhanAllah, our deen already had told us about this. Do you know the last person Dajjal is going to kill, or going to play his tricks on rather, will be a person who will call and say, I'm Dajjal. And everyone will say, yes you are. And he says, I'm God. I'm God. And they all say, yes, because he will be playing these tricks for a long time. He'll go to a group of people and he'll claim to be divine, and they'll say no. He says, really? You're not divine? Okay, watch. And he will bring about instantaneously drought upon all of them. Within almost instantaneously, the animals will become extremely weak or dead, and the human beings will fail. They'll start falling apart, dying, and all hell will break loose. And then you'll say, okay, you guys suffer here. Let me go to the next town. I'm God. And they will look at what happens and say, yes, 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 we believe you in God. And immediately the rains will become plentiful. Immediately there's grass will turn green, the vegetation will turn green, plentiful fruit. It's not even seasons. We're talking about immediate. Everything's immediate. It's all controlled, right? It's all genetically modified stuff. What say soybeans now? What was it today? Did you read that? Did you share that with me? There's continuously information that's being shared with me. I don't know. Someone was talking about how a certain type of, what was it? Someone shared with me today. A new type of seed has been approved in the country for soybeans. And it's got some aspects of pigs in it, right? Something to do with pigs. But I didn't got a chance to reading the article. So yeah, definitely food is going to be all like engineered.
Yeah, I mean it's already happening, right?
It's already happened, right? So now for the food to become immediately plentiful, or for your fruits to all of a sudden be present, it's not hard to understand with the way things are going right now. And then eventually he will go to a person and he'll say, look, you all gather together. I'm God, and Lucy, I give life and I give death. And some people, by that time, majority of people will be believing in him. Majority of people will be believing in him. And the few who don't, he says, okay, this is the final show. So he takes one person who is one of the most pious people of that time, and he'll cut him in half. One side here, one side there. Whether he's cutting him in half or is making his avatar, cutting his artificially created clone, Allah knows best, right? Whatever that's going to be. Or a simple jinn that looks like him. That's very simple. You can do that right now, right? A jinn looking like him and just cut him in half. Go here, go there. And then he will bring the two parts of the body together and he says, "Qum, stand up." And the guy will be alive. So now he says, now do you believe that I'm God? Look what I just did. So of course the vast majority of people who were not believing will now start believing. But what will he say? He says, "Mazdadtu illa imanan annaka dajjal." He says, this hasn't increased me in anything but in conviction that you're a liar. You're an imposter and you're not. What? How is that possible? Because my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had informed me through hadith, meaning this person will have the knowledge of hadith. This person will be a believer in hadith, and you'll have yaqeen on hadith. And he will say, I was already informed of this long ago that this is what you're going to do. Right? So my point, dear brothers, is that this what we're talking about, Omniverse, etc. Reading it right now, what did the New Yorker that you just said, the New Yorker journalist, he's saying, when I looked at Omniverse, this reminded me of the chapter of Genesis from the Bible.
SubhanAllah.
This is creation. This is creating. I saw creating happen. He's like shooken up. I was just rereading his article right now. And he was like shooken up, non-Muslim. He said, what in the world did I just witness? That you are doing a prompt, or your voice prompt, or text prompt creates something, and the Omniverse, a 3D model of that is created.
It's like a 3D model, yeah, exactly.
3D model. As soon as you say it, bam, it's right there. How is this not like,
It sounds like some science fiction.
Exactly, but this is like going towards, what did he use? He used the word Genesis, right, from the Bible, where it talks about the creation of the heavens and the earth and the man and so forth. That's what Dajjal will claim, right, that I can create. I can destroy, I give life and I give death. So I very clearly see here the fact that we are, what our Ustad said, we're in an era of Dajjali fitna. Dajjal is not going to come out of nowhere. He's going to come after the stage is set for him. And this artificial intelligence is like the huge, massive legs for the stage to be placed on. Right? It's on this stage that he will show up. Omniverse and the virtual reality world, all of that is preparing the stage for him to come and take the controls of all of this technology. And talking about sihr, Shaitan himself is the greatest sahir. Shaitan uses sihr. And Dajjal is the greatest general of Iblis. So for him to be using sihr is a common, very something which will happen. There's an hadith in Hayat al-Sahaba, Shaykh Yusuf Khandili rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentions in that book about Dajjal. I wish someone here would find it and share with me right now, but honestly, I remember 15 years ago, I was sitting there in my home, just on my sofa, reading through, just one afternoon, reading through Hayat al-Sahaba, and I came across this hadith. I was like, Ya Allah, how are we going to save ourselves from this fitna? There's a reason why he said every Nabi warned his people. So the gist of this hadith, if I remember correctly, I haven't read it since like 2008, but it's there in Hayat al-Sahaba, that the Dajjal will be there and he will claim that I'm God. And there will be two angels next to him. One angel will say, he is lying. The other angel will say, he is speaking the truth. And the Dajjal will say, I'm God. The people will not be able to hear or see the angel that says, he is Dajjal, he's lying. They will only be able to hear and see the angel that is saying, he is speaking the truth. And who is this angel referring to? The other angel. Exactly. The other angel. The angel is referring to the other angel, not referring to Dajjal. What will people be able to hear? That they only hear one angel saying, he is speaking the truth, that he is God. In reality, the damir marja' of huwa, he is speaking the truth, is referring to who?
The angel.
The other angel. But you never heard him. You only heard this one. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. My dear friends, how are you going to handle that? It is like this is where you call iman bil ghaib. You cannot believe what you see. You cannot believe what you hear. You cannot believe what you think. You cannot believe what you interact with. You can't believe anything that your sensory organs are taking in. You can't. It's all lie. It's because why? All that stuff is being manipulated by Dajjal. You have to basically turn off your sensors. Your entire body, turn it off. Turn it off. I'm not taking any input from outside. All sensors, shut it. Because all the information that the sensors are giving you are pure Dajjali knowledge. The only thing that you have is you have got the firasa of iman inside your heart. That is the only thing you have to fall back on. Oh, wow. Do you get this? How hard this is? So now we're talking about Dajjal. Very important point that when we speak about all the signs of Dajjal and talk about what Dajjal is going to do and this and that, all of it, we should have, I don't have time to get into the Dajjal session right now, but we should. Yeah. We should very soon have this discussion again. Good, refreshing for me and for all of us.
Inshallah.
Okay, one of the signs of Dajjal coming, when will Dajjal show up? Who remembers this? Anyone remember when will Dajjal show up? What will one thing not take place and then Dajjal will show up?
The remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Huh? Remembrance of Allah, okay. Yeah. Anyone? What's up? I know my question is too vague. That's why you're probably not getting it. Basically comes in hadith, when Dajjal will not be spoken about from the pulpit. That's when he's going to come. Okay? You understand that? So that's exactly it's a push. When was the last time a talk on Dajjal was given in the haram?
Yeah.
Right? When was it? What was the last khutbah? Someone shared with me. Just completely random stuff, like nothing to do with the relevance of the world. Something random. So the aspect of Dajjal is something, dear brothers, mothers, sisters, youngsters, please understand you need to speak about this. You need to read about it, listen to the talks on Dajjal regularly. This is how you keep your iman fresh and understand what's going on. So when you talk about the signs of Dajjal and how powerful he is, he will have a Jannah, he will have a Jahannam. And the Prophet ﷺ said his Jannah will actually be Jahannam, his Jahannam will be actually Jannah. Every single thing he'll show you will be opposite. And then Rasulullah ﷺ saying how he's a liar, he'll do this, he'll do this. Eventually he says, if you still get confused about who God is, like let's just think for a moment. Right now, if I tell you there's a one-eyed guy, he's a God, you sab log haste. You're like, "Yaar, come on, man. What is this? Who's gonna fall for this?" But the Prophet ﷺ actually said that. If you're confused about who God is, why is he saying that? Because that's exactly what will happen. This technology that we're speaking about will be all-encompassing, will be brainwashing all of us, will making us to think in a certain manner, will become completely dependent on it, that we'll think it's God, that it will actually become extremely confusing for an average person, no, for 90% or more of the people to figure out who God is. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when everything fails, Allah is this, but no, Dajjal can do this. Allah gives me children, but Dajjal also gives me children. Allah gives me water, but Dajjal also does it. That's gonna happen. Whatever needs that you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers, listen to me clearly. Whatever needs you thought Allah Azza wa Jalla is fulfilling, Allah will allow Dajjal to fulfill that. You understand that?
Yeah.
Let that sink in. So now it's very confusing. Is he God or is he not? What is it? At that time, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you get confused, then I'm going to give you the last cheat sheet. This last final cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet said, Dajjal is one-eyed, وَإِنَّ رَبَّكُمْ لَيْسَ بِأَعْوَرٍ, and Allah is not one-eyed. It will literally come down to this one point. This is the only thing you will have in your pocket to help you make a decision that this guy, as much as he proves himself to be Allah, but because of this one issue, I have to back out and say, no, he's not.
This one defect,
this
right?
is really deep, guys. Yeah. Very deep what I just said. It just tells you the power of Dajjal, the power of deception that Allah will give Dajjal. That it will literally be so difficult to distinguish between Dajjal and the power of God. That this is the only thing you will have to bank on is this one aspect. So if we do not have strong iman, and if we don't have people if we don't have all of us, if we don't stop reacting with what we watch online and stop making decisions based on what's fed to us through our phones, through what we hear and see online, we're lost. We're going to be like the rest of the sheep. You have to create within your children and yourself this ability to say, I don't care if the whole world says this. I don't care. I will definitely go against the grain. I have to. We have to teach our children to become people who will stand up against culture. We have to become counterculturists. Like, I'm not trying to start a revolution here, but the idea is we have to create this temperament within our youth to say, because I'm gonna tell you to oppose this simply because everyone else is saying that. Yeah, you have to create this within you. The fact is the world will come where everyone will be on one side, and these few tiny believers will be speaking the truth. That Dajjal, you're not God. 99.9999% of the world, including the ones who are born Muslims, will give him. Okay? So that type of strong confidence in identity of Islam, ask yourself, do your son and daughter have it? If our daughter cannot wear hijab today, if our sister can't wear hijab today, if our brother cannot eat halal today, if he cannot resist himself from eating haram or watching haram or coming to the masjid, honestly, how are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle this test? So this whole discussion should push us forward now to start thinking inwardly, to see what am I made of? Am I ready to take on this challenge that is coming forward?
So I think there's a few things that I wanted to kind of wrap up with. So I guess first off, with Yazin, do you feel? So we have about 15 minutes left before Isha, and I wanted to get through one last question. And I was thinking, like I guess first off, maybe for the crowd, I don't know how engaged you guys are. I don't know if you, at this point, if you guys want to go home and destroy your computer or throw your phone in the garbage on the way out. I'm not sure what the sentiment looks like in the crowd, but if you guys have him, I was thinking perhaps we can get through this one last question to kind of wrap up discussion tonight, and then we could do Q&A after Isha, if that's okay. Like, I guess, Mufti Yazin, what do you think about that?
I think people don't stick around. People have to leave probably. I'm open. We're not going. Alhamdulillah, we're always here.
I guess, like, what do you guys think? Would you guys rather do Q&A now, or do you guys? Because I think, mashallah, there's a lot of questions coming in, and I want to give proper time for that. So, I guess, what do you guys think? Sure. Well, we have technically 15 minutes, so it would have to be 5 and 10. So I guess the last question, really quickly, Mufti Yazin. we've talked a lot about warnings, like issues and pitfalls of social media that is connected to artificial intelligence, machine learning, because all of this is powered by that. But I wanted to end off tonight's discussion on a point, bringing it back to kind of what we sort of started the discussion on, that Islam has perspectives on many things, right? As it being a way of life. So there is some good out of this technology that is being developed, and there's no doubt about that. There's a lot of benefit to humanity. There's a lot of advancement that's helping humans achieve more progress and better the world. And even for myself as an expert and sort of a practitioner in the field, I have started engaging with AI and working in collaboration with ulama on pretty interesting projects that are potentially revolutionary in terms of the assistance and aid it can give to scholars to further their own scholarship, right? When it comes to publishing, other sort of like useful features that AI has developed. So, I guess that being said, is there benefit of AI, and have you seen it? And what impact do you think it can have on Muslims and perhaps scholarship? And have you seen any real life examples of that?
Tons of real life examples. Okay, but you have said something initially at the conversation. You said we are in an era, information age of unprecedented data. Soon, through machine learning and through this technology, the machine will have more knowledge than entire humanity put together. Okay, very soon. So all of information of all of humanity put together will be more found in the machine than we will have. That's where the tables will turn. That's where the tables will turn, because information is key to be able to control it. When you've given so much information to a machine, then now you've become a victim, or you can become the subject of this machine, not the other way around. The teacher is a teacher as long as he knows more than the student. Once a student surpasses the teacher, then the roles switch. There's no respect. So when a machine has more information than all of us combined together, that's pretty crazy stuff. Okay, but what information? That's not ilm, that's data. It will never have information of wahi. It will never have the soul of wahi. It will never have the nur of wahi. It will have just the scripture. It will just have the words of Quran, words of hadith. It will never have the soul, the spirituality, the ruhaniyah. That is still only found in the hearts of the awliya, in the hearts of the ulama. Okay? So we need to not conflate these two things. I'll be honest, I use ChatGPT or Meta for WhatsApp on a lot of things. I'm coming up for titles. I'm giving so many alhamdulillah talks everywhere. Everyone's like, give me a title, give me a title. I'm like, okay, before it's taking me so hard, I send it to someone. He comes up by the end of the day, comes up with the flyer, this, that. Now you have the tools to come up with the most outstanding title, come up with a flyer, come up with everything really instantaneously. Yes, of course. But at the same time, I realized that this is going to make us all dumber. I remember one scholar, she said, older scholar, she said, I don't use GPS. I print out directions and keep it in my car for the sake if I need it, and then I use the map. We grew up with maps, right? We grew up, we'd open up the glove compartment, sit there and open it up. We'd open up at a gas station. Our wives would say, stop. Auntie would say, chalo, just stop. And the husband would say, no, I got it. And after 1 hour, we do it. We grew up with maps. We knew how to read maps. Now, majority of the youth sitting here, you put in navigation, how to get to O'Hare, probably most people don't know. Right? How to get from here to Chicago, to Devon. I bet a big chunk of us don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right? If there's a traffic jam, how to get onto another street, I have no idea. So we have to acknowledge the fact that these things are going to make us dumber. They're going to make us dumber. It's strengthening machine. Machine learning is making every single day a machine become smarter and make us dumber. That's one thing, which is not good. Right? So don't put crutches on yourself. I got to give this message to myself.
Yeah.
Don't put crutches on yourself. Maktabat al-Shamila, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Shamila, I was going to say that.
What happened? For those, they don't understand. They come to the Dar al-Islam library. Yaar, everything is on, mashallah.
Internet.
Everything's mashallah PDF. Brother, just enjoy the book. Smell the book. Hold the book. This is beauty in a book. Why are you so obsessed with everything being online? Enjoy a library, man. Just enjoy good old books. But what I want you to understand, the advent of all this technology has brought thousands of books Lekin people don't know. My ustads who never used a computer know more hadith by heart than any one of us who have access to all of this. I remember, I'll give a quick example. When I was doing ifta back a long time ago, 2004, subhanAllah, 2005, one of my Maktab al-Shamila had just come out, which has like what, 500,000, 400,000, some ridiculous amount of Islamic books, all on a CD at that time. 500,000 books, 500,000 books. So we started, this was the first year we had someone had access to it. They started using it to check their fatwa, right? Afterwards, when the teachers found out, they said, no, absolutely not allowed. You have to use real hardcover books for reference. Because why? There's too many things I can tell you about, but one of the things that many of the references within these digitalized copies are all wrong. Major mistakes in the typing and major mistakes in the quotation. Some of them can easily be intentional to mislead people. You understand that? So one day, Mufti al-Haq Damad Barakatuhum, subhanAllah, he said, "Yeah, fatwa, this is wrong. Go check this up again." Right? And he said, go check in. If I remember, he said, this such and such tafsir, Ruh al-Ma'ani, check this volume, this section, this ayah. So one of my classmates, he went and he wrote the fatwa, checked it up, and it's probably Shamila, he wrote it down. And he was from Tajikistan area, whatever. So his speaking of Urdu and Arabic was, was a little bit different. And the mannerisms are different.
Yeah.
So he wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But he said, meri tahqiq aapki tahqiq ke muwafiq hai, right? He says, my research conforms to your research, or I agree with you, basically. Ustad Saab, right? I agree with your research. So Mufti al-Haq is a quiet person, he never would respond. But this time, I remember this, he responded. He said, Farq itna hai. He said, you're right. The difference is, you searched it online, or you saw it yesterday, while it's been over 3.5 decades since I last opened that book.
SubhanAllah.
Right? Right? That's the difference. What I want you to understand is that all of this information is great, but it's actually not making us more intelligent, nor is it making us more spiritual, nor is it making us more connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is data. This is data. Use data, no problem, but don't conflate that with ilm. Ilm is what is sina basina. What Jibreel salam transferred to Rasulullah with a hug, and what Rasulullah transferred to the Sahaba, and so forth. So we can use that data and benefit from AI, all fine. But when it comes to your soul, when it comes to your spirituality, we should think that there has to be some blood and flesh. I want to go back to that same thing. The sina basina, the golden chain, having a mentor, having a sheikh, and studying with him, and gaining ilm from him, there's no replacement for that.
Yeah, subhanAllah. No, and I think just to comment real quick as we get into the questions here, I know there's about 5 minutes left before we have to stand up and make the sufu for Isha Salah. But exactly what Mufti Sahib was saying, at the end of the day, artificial intelligence, these tools that are out there, they should be leveraged for automation, automating repetitive tasks that an individual already knows how to do. And the AI can free up that time so that you can focus on other value-add activities, right? And that's functionally how it's being leveraged in the industry right now. But the problem is people are using it to actually do their work, and they're not actually doing the work themselves.
I'm laughing at this one comment. AI has one eye. Is it the job?
So I mean, it's kind of quickly going through these questions.
Should Muslims get into AI as a field? Definitely everything. If we are the ones to save the world from it, that's it. There's no one else besides us. Who's got the hadith on Dajjal, man, to the description that we have? No one does this. So I think Muslims who are in AI definitely should utilize their ilm of deen. First of all, learn deen. Don't just be an AI. You're gonna become a victim like everyone else. Don't trust yourself. I'm somebody. You're nobody. None of us are anybody. Don't think you're gonna be able to put a leash around AI.
Yeah.
Without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and help. This very important article that I have to share today from University of Chicago, Booth School, talks about, and inshallah I have a talk in the retreat, of course this coming retreat, and I'm going to inshallah share more details of this article, but I just want to give you this article here. It is from chicagobooth.edu. It's called Where AI, look at this, the title, you guys can read it on your own. Where AI thrives, religion may struggle. Where AI thrives, religion may struggle. It says here, the more exposed people are to automation technologies, the researchers find the weaker their religious beliefs. AI and robotics may influence people's beliefs in a way that science more generally does not. People whose jobs, listen up, all AI experts and guys are in the industry and girls in the industry. People whose jobs were one standard deviation higher than average in exposure to AI were 45% less likely to believe in God than those with average exposure. Okay? Did you hear what I said? People whose jobs were one standard deviation higher than average in exposure to AI were 45% less likely to believe in God than those with average exposure. So reading about AI had a stronger negative effect on a participant's religious conviction than reading about any other kind of breakthroughs, even when the breakthroughs were judged as equally impressive. Crazy stuff, right? Automation impact on religious faith may have to do with what researchers call the instrumental value of religion. That this religion is no longer of value for me when all my needs are being fulfilled from this. So I think we need Muslims, but we need educated, religiously minded Muslims in these fields to be able to kind of guide. This past weekend when I was in Atlanta, I had some high-ranking AI guys meeting me, and they're like, you know what you have spoken about is so true, that we are in a rat race trying to get to the top. And no one's got time to even take a tea break and to think about the moral and ethical ramifications of what we're doing. Yeah. It's all about climb to the top of the mountain. Whoever reaches the top is going to become the most powerful, most wealthiest. Yep. And there is no discussion of ethics and morals around any of this breakthrough research that's happening. Yeah, no, and to kind of quickly go through some of these questions, I know we have 2 minutes left. So, question about how can we reduce your phone addiction? Simply put, just having some base level himma, right? You have to have himma, and you have to have restraint. Whether that's putting it away for an hour, a couple hours, when you come home from work, making sure it's tucked away. In fact, some of the individuals who spoke in the Social Dilemma documentary I mentioned, these AI experts who developed this tool, who have fallen prey to the same addictive qualities that have themselves, commented saying that they adopted this practice of putting away their phone when they got home from work so that they can spend time with their families, because they saw the negative effect of how it kept on drawing them into it. So I would say just having that base level himma and using some restraint, inshallah, will be beneficial. So there's been, mashallah, a big push in our community, Muslims and non-Muslims, towards using alternative to smartphones. Alhamdulillah, there's, mashallah, I see in our community a big shift towards that. So just simply getting a non-smartphone would be something I think that we can start working on, or having even 2 phones. One you use only at work, and then the rest when we have at home, so that we're not always on it. That would be the first step I think all of us need to be working on in our cell phone addiction. And then اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المسيح الدجال. Right? That was a dua. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المسيح الدجال. Can EA be used in our favor? Yes. If you use it properly. What is the significance of Surah Al-Kahf? Please, listen to the 16 episodes that we did on the tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf, which we talked about how it's linked, every ayah of that linked to the fitna of Dajjal, protection from that. So talking about best Islamic chatbot. That's being advertised, and Dr. Waleed, one of the ones who created, is coming to this retreat. We're going to discuss this. That's why you need to be here for this retreat. We're going to talk about openly about how beneficial these things are and how harmful these things are. How can we increase iman on the unseen? One of the ways is to simply, whatever you speak about, you begin to believe in it. So start speaking about the unseen more. Speak about Jannah, speak about Jahannam, speak about Akhirah, more often than not. And speak about the qualities, the iman of the Sahaba that they had in unseen. Hayat al-Sahaba, the one I told you the story of the 2 jinns, the 2 angels, remember? That is a great, great, great book to build your iman. Hayat al-Sahaba of Sheikh Yusuf al-Kandalwi rahimahumullah. You can find a translation of that in English. Stories of Sahaba by Yusuf al-Kandalwi. That would be something really beneficial to read. Can AI, which is limited, surpass real intelligence? Inshallah not, no. But the problem is that real intelligence, if it's covered by artificial intelligence, then your real intelligence stops working. That's what's going on. Because through your real intelligence, it's being veiled, ghishawa. It's being veiled by constantly reading, watching, and thinking things that are incorrect. So that your real intelligence gets dampened. And you start thinking only in a manner that you are made to think. And that's where we cannot be dependent on these things, where we have to depend on our wahi, on the knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah to give us guidance, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It goes down back to the nur of your heart. That's what's going to guide us in these extremely difficult times that are coming ahead of us.
Yeah.
So there is those of you listening online, mashallah, I heard over 150, 200 people listening online, mashallah. The start of this program is not at 6 p.m. We have 4 p.m. We're going to have 2 extremely successful entrepreneurs from the West Coast who are coming here, who started up their own.
Yeah, the company is called Next Health. It's basically an application, a product that helps doctors' offices, dentists, basically develop appointments. There's a lot of other productivity kind of elements to the product. So, inshallah, they're going to be here to kind of talk about their journey as co-founders of this startup and their journey developing it, inshallah.
So I think young budding entrepreneurs, young budding college students, please utilize this time for networking, for learning how we can use our entrepreneurial skills to help further the deen, protect the deen. We need extremely strong, talented people in the room. Right? And this is where a time for Islam to shine. This is the time. I'm going to end on this note. That this is the time for Islam to shine. This is the time for Muslims to shine, to show that we're the ones who got the key to save the world right now. We always did, but people didn't understand it. Now we definitely, when no one else got any, they don't even have a key. One is you have a key that doesn't work. No one even has a key right now. We as Muslims have to show ourselves, be out there, say this is, alhamdulillah, the teachings of Islam that will help us guide us through this difficult storm. And so we need all the college students, young men and women, to please join this retreat, connect with other professionals, connect with other ulama and alimat. We have many guest scholars who have arrived all the way from Turkey. MashaAllah, Dr. Yaqub just arrived from Turkey today, who's going to be a historian, who's going to be speaking about Islam and science, the history of Islam and science, as well as different things in this retreat. So a lot of effort has gone into it. We want all of you youth, please, and young adults, men, women, to come and benefit from the program. There is no cost to it. It's it's just a free program that we're doing, and we just hope, all we want to see huge numbers. Friday, 4 p.m., inshallah, the entrepreneurship one will begin, and it will end at Sunday at 5, inshallah. Please don't hesitate to, please do register so proper arrangements can be made. Yes. All the programs are here. All the sessions are going to be at Darussalam at 21W525 North Avenue, Lombard, Illinois. However, there are going to be parallel sessions, some in the banquet hall, some inside prayer hall. That's all shared on the schedule. So like there are parallel sessions for scholars. There's parallel sessions for startup people. There's parallel sessions for sisters, etc. So they will all happen in different sections of this building, inshallah. And the program will be live streamed as well. At least the brother section will be live streamed.
Yeah, inshallah.
So I would recommend our sisters to try their best to come in person, inshallah. Jazakullahu Khairan for making this program successful. I hope it was beneficial, inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah bihamdi, la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.